That means they're gonna lose to Republicans.
That didn't happen in Michigan, you fucking idiot. Bonus episode. If you're a trans activist or trans person in general, you're paying $10 to have Jake spit in your face. You know who looks like a bigger schmuck? The guy who had the chance to get somebody on the show and actually do some real advocacy and you laughed in their face. If I'm an idiot, you're a coward. I have a terrible feeling that as disappointed as we were, it might get worse. Let's see what Benny has to say. By the way, everybody who's doing the YouTube chat, I'm on my phone. I'm on my phone watching the chat now. I'm just just so happy people are talking to me. Sorry, I couldn't have the window up and make sure that I wasn't like doing audio shit. But Lefty audio I think is gone. I think we're sounding really, really good. Okay, so let's see what Benny has to say for herself, which I'm sure we're going to be just, this is just going to be the drizzling shit. Yes, Noodle Cup Blues, the YouTube channel is the same name, at Steamboat Art. All right, let's watch this nonsense. I know, Bubba, I'm not excited about it either. Yeah, Shay is also not excited about this unfortunate turn of events. Come on, Bubba, you want to sit on the couch? All right, come on. You can do it. You can do it. Come on. Good boy. Okay. So let's get this up running here. Yes, hi, Bub. Oh. Shay's here. He knows I got upset about Anna's bullshittery. He's come to comfort me. What a good boy. What a sweet boy. Okay, let's see what Benny's got to say for herself.
Alright, so in case it wasn't obvious from the title of this video, I'm done with TYT.
So anybody keeping score at home, I think she was the host of, or the hostess of, well, I think just host, of Galaxy Brain, which I'm not entirely sure what that was exactly. I don't think I've watched it. But I would imagine it's like nerd stuff. But the most important part, she left because she was experiencing transphobia in TYT, and we need to, no bueno, no good. Let's explain.
TYT. Now, before we get into like everything about this isn't about all of the hosts. There are actually a ton of people at TYT that I think are genuinely cool people.
Yes, I think the other shows that they're doing, like JR Jackson, also does a really great show. That's the thing. I haven't watched in a while, actually, because of the man. You guys remember that union shit when TYT tried to unionize and there was a whole kerfuffle behind that? What they should have done is say, like, it's difficult to unionize in the United States because the Department of Labor is, it has made it very difficult to do so. But no, they just took it. They just, kicked the can down the road in the worst way possible and making it the workers' fault, which is a disaster. Disaster take. And I surprisingly took that one on the chin, thinking, we all have blind spots. But I think as we're seeing from the recent spots, we're sliding a bit. The elevator's going down. So, let's see. All right, Benny, what do you got for us, girl?
This is mostly about Jenk and Anna. But of course, since like they're the people that are like the big names on the network and Jenk kind of like owns the company, it's a pretty big deal when they do something like, I don't know, become incredibly transphobic and start what appears to be a ridiculous right-wing grift. I mean, literally everything from the things that they've said about homeless people to the stuff that they said about abolitionists and their general sort of like refusal to hear the people that are criticizing.
She does make a good point. I mean, we saw it at the end of that. We saw it at the end of the interview. We saw it at the end of the interview that Anna was on, where she's just totally flippant on trans activists or anybody who's actually on the ground, which, unfortunately is going to show how serious they are about actual progressive values, which, has become in increasingly shorter. I lost the words. It's just not good. Not good. Not good.
Criticizing them and saying, no, this is what people are actually trying to say. You're not really hearing what we're saying, or you're not listening. Now, we're not going to focus
Oh,
on
that'll
literally
fucking
all of the
gag.
right-wing things that they've been doing lately, especially in the past year. They've done this pivot where they go after prison abolitionists, people who say defund the police, homeless people, and anybody that they think is a radical left. Because, doing the enlighten the centrist thing is really a smart move in this year, 2023. Right? I still got that calendar right. No, we're mostly going to be focusing on their transphobia, which they have been escalating rapidly, which I guess is something that everybody really predicted would happen starting, I think, about 6 months ago, 4 months ago, when Anna Kasparian put out a tweet complaining about the use of the term birthing person.
I want everybody to be clear, right? I touched on this. I need to show everybody. I must. It's important. Well, not really. I drew a comic and I would like you guys to see it. Let's go ahead and edit a source here. Task manager. Here we go. Let's, this is from Super Steam World number 2, which at the time I was still calling it Super Fantastique. Which is which was, this comic was supposed to be a continuation of a comic that ran in SUNY Fredonia's student newspaper, which I fell in love with as a kid, strangely enough. And it influenced my entire art style of why I'm doing this thing. It's a long story. One day we'll do a Super Fantastique retrospective, and I'd be very excited to do that. So, in number 2, right? In number 2, there's a competition called the Log Off. And now the Log Off, it's, I swear to God, a competition about, doing something artsy with logs. But in a bizarre coincidence, it's all internet themed. I'm very funny. Anyway, yeah, so they're making logs, and I tell jokes about online behavior. This one was just like a guy I made up. But the next panel, oh God, that's the first panel. Whoops, sorry, I pressed the wrong arrow. Pressing the wrong arrow. You know what I'm saying? That's why we need gender neutral arrows. This is it. Okay. This was the line I wrote about Anna Kasparian. And I'll say, because, okay, normally I don't like to say, like, this joke is about this certain person, but look, we gotta call it as we see it. I don't get this one. Birthing person. I'm told it's a protest piece, but of what? It's not giving me having a child as so much as the idea of me having a child skeeves me out so much that I'm okay with looking like a TERF. Now, I was wrong because she didn't just look like a TERF, she is one. That video was proof positive. And I think if what Bennie here is, I think what she is trying to get to the root of is that either this actually, I was wrong again, and that this is a grift, where they're trying to get more people to watch TYT, which, you get the viewers, but you muddle the message. And this totally fucking muddied that message up. Jeez, I'm crow. But, I made I wanted everybody to know I made a joke about it. So I knew what was up from the jump. And that comic, although I posted it in like April, I drafted it in like the end of March. So it was my finger was on the pulse. It happened. But this isn't about this fucking idiot. It's about Benny. So let's see what she's got to say.
Which is really, really funny because she kept on talking about how, like, it erases women, and it minimizes womanhood down to just body parts. Except for it literally doesn't. Everybody very immediately pointed out that that's a silly thing to say, that in fact, thinking that the term woman and birthing person are completely interchangeable actually does reduce women to body parts. And what precipitated this is even more silly because it was originally in reference to AOC and other politicians using the term when they're talking about abortion rights. And I don't know if you know this, but abortion rights are pretty specific to people with uteruses who are capable of having children. And so the term birthing person is a pretty useful term.
So she's right in that the whole birthing person thing was to literally create medically inclusive terms. Nobody on the street is saying you're a birthing person. Nobody on the street is saying that. And I think it was at that moment where Anna's brain just broke. Or what I think would happen, she let the virality and her popularity get to her head. And just consumed with her bullshit. That now she's just, this is all, now it's coming from, it's advocacy now coming from self-centeredness. So, Overton window shifted.
To be narrow enough to be specific, but also cover all of the relevant people, and that's why politicians have been using it in that context. Since posting the original tweet, literally it seems like they keep going back and forth whenever they hear that argument. Basically, if there's somebody reasonable in the room with them saying why the term birthing person might be used, then they're like, yeah, I guess it makes sense in that context, but I just don't like it. But when somebody reasonable isn't around, then they just go and complain about the term birthing person again. And that really is why so many people predicted that they were going to go into this extreme turf pipeline, because, of course, that's a very common starting point right there. The trans people are erasing women. Oh my god. But then everything escalated when they decided to talk about trans people in sports, which is a very common thing that a lot of cisgender people like to complain.
I want to put this shit to bed now. Okay? Because I'm a big sports guy. I love sports. Love it. Because you know why? Everybody can play. Everybody. Girls can dunk on men. I've seen it. People that are 5'2" are dodging and weaving around people who are much bigger than them. I've seen it. You don't have to have a penis, nor do you have to have a uterus in order to play a sport good. You understand? Are we fucking clear? It's a skill issue, not a gender issue, and I'll show you why. There was a boxer, I think, like a trans man boxer that just won a huge fight. Trans man, boxer. Guys, let me introduce you to Patricio Manuel. Your winner by unanimous decision, Patricio. Since his amateur debut in 2016, he's only been there for 3 fights. Because let me tell you something, I'm sure, I'll bet you he found a way. But, training to be in fighting shape, as well as being, as well as finding yourself and being, and working towards being the body that you were supposed to be in, that's a lot. That's a lot. And you know what happened? They won. They won a fight. Not only that, in their entire career, they're 3-0. And he's still looking for his next fight. You know why? I'll tell you why. I'll fucking go all assumptions out here. Because they know that if Patricio goes into the ring and fucks a cis guy up, fucks him up. Because keep in mind, this is unanimous decision. Unanimous decision is only reserved to people who dominated a fight. Dodging, ducking, weaving, hitting all the marks. Doesn't matter what Patricio was in a former life. He's a boxer, first and foremost. And the next fight that he fights is going to be the one that breaks the entire fucking conversation in half. And they're afraid to do it. They're afraid to do it. And I think it's because people are just ashamed to be wrong. Jangles has a really good video on hormones in sports. Yeah, I gotta. We'll check that out. We'll probably. I want to do like a dedicated sports stream. We'll do it another day. This is you know. Let's do this shit.
Complain about because they don't understand how hormones work, and instead of attempting to try and get any type of understanding, they just want to sit and argue about their assumptions about how they think hormones should.
Oh, hang on, gang. I gotta let Shay out. So there are kids next door. They're about playing. And Shay wants to run around with the kids outside, so he's outside behind the fence, running back and forth like a dummy. But he's having fun. I'm not gonna yuck his yum. All right, Benny, let's do it.
Should work. They come in with all of these assumptions about biological males and think that there's some sort of
And yeah, Noodle Cup Blues, thank you for trying to get the boost out because Twitch is just fucking abysmal. I'm advertising the YouTube stream more than the Twitch one, rightfully so. The fucking platform is dying. Anyway.
magic secret advantage that just exists persistently regardless as to what hormones are literally dictating what your body is doing at the time. And that's where I came in, and I started tweeting at some of the hosts saying that, hey, you're wrong about this, that, or the other thing, you're missing these details, hey, you're literally just being transphobic right now. I even reached out to people within the network to say like, hey, I would like to maybe sit down with Jenk and maybe even have an on-the-air conversation where I could talk about how all of this stuff
that sounds like a great idea.
You know,
that sounds like a way to get
but I like to think that in my master's degree.
Here's the thing. She's absolutely right. That's how you try to get people on your side on an issue. You don't immediately, and their opinions are valid because they're studied and they're in, they're in a field that they've studied for many years, doctors. But there's something more authentic about just talking to a guy. Like, when Bernie ran in 2020, the whole the whole news cycle and every mainstream media outlet ignoring him, I didn't get so mad at that because I expected as much. Again, it's like the same thing with the Target bit. It's disappointing, but I'm not surprised. That's why we have to go beyond that, and that's what Anna seems to fail to grasp, is that there's more effective advocacy than that could be done instead of whinging behind a series of ones and zeros. But that to her is her world. That she's illustrated that is the world that she inhabits. So I'll tell you what, it's not mine. It's not yours. We're out here. Benny, she's out there. That's what I mean by people on the ground. People have to worry about catching a bus to go to work. People who have to commute to jobs that they wish they weren't doing because they don't have time to actually pursue a passion or a hobby or a career that other than something that is just there to pay a bill. Anna doesn't realize how lucky she is. And I'm not talking about being being a white woman or white passing woman or whatever. I'm talking about the platform that she has. Which kind of gets me, we'll cover this. I don't know if we'll have time to do it today. But there's this video from this YouTuber Soul Bunny. about the white in leftist industrial complex, which, by the way, if there is a complex like that, how do I get in on it? Because it's about time I started making money off this shit. Where I'm a white guy that's cisgendered and straight as the crow flies. Where's my money? If this is so fucking easy. Log off. Everybody's got to log off. But don't log off now, because, I want you to watch the stream. Because we're having fun here. All right, Benny. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you with my bullshit. Please continue.
In biotechnology and my experience literally being a trans person who, by the way, most trans people will do a ton of research about hormones before they get on them because a lot of doctors don't really know that much about it. So that's actually something that I did, where I spent a ton of time like reading through like research papers about.
And that's not a lack of intelligence or caring. The thing is that there are plenty of doctors out in the world, and that's the thing. If we're talking about shortages in different countries, I think that's because there isn't so much of a shortage of doctors. There's a shortage of specialists. For whatever reason, there apparently, because if there is, they're keeping awfully quiet. People who have studied hormones and and can say with authority what hormones do to regular people. Because that's what trans people are. They're regular people. It's like, in your advocacy, you could still treat somebody as an anomaly, and it just comes off as, like, weird and hollow. God, just a... Oh, in the chat, yeah. After 18 months on HRT, there's no muscular difference between trans and cis women. Exactly. Correct. Exactly correct. There's none. I think everybody could safely say, get good.
About what would be like the best for my transition, how it would go, and things like that. So I'd like to think, with my background, with some experience in biology, and reading a ton about how specifically hormone replacement therapy works for trans women like myself, I might know a thing or two about all of these things. And I figured, hey, if Jank doesn't know about this, maybe it'd be interesting for him to learn. But with that though, he wasn't really interested in having an on-the-air conversation because he seemed pretty intent on not changing his mind, but he was open to having a phone conversation. So I handed
I just want to I want to make this very, very clear, because now that the leftist audio issues are gone, everybody can hear me, and these are going to be clips that are good enough to edit. So I want to make this clear. I did the preamble so much I almost forgot my point. ADHD, everybody. It's this. Don't be afraid of being wrong on the internet. I know, it's crazy. It's absolutely bonkers to think about. But it's okay to be wrong on the internet, because you know what you do with the hateful comments that are calling you stupid? You ignore them. You ignore them. And you engage with the people that are actually trying to do it in good faith. But then again, you can't really do that on Twitter, so you have to go outside. Anna and Jank on their show, they talk a lot about a bubble in Washington. I hate to tell you this, guys, but the call's coming from inside the bubble. If you're wrong about something, showing growth and change on your program, that brings in viewers. People love a redemption arc. Like, tripping over dollars. You know what they're trying to do? In trying to, get more viewers and more eyes on the product, they're intentionally missing the forest for the trees. They're missing things that they could have easily done to make this shit quote unquote sexy or entertaining. But you know. But as we've seen, they're not interested in that. So.
To him on that, like, yeah, great. So we had a chat over the phone. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get into the details of literally every single thing that we talked about. I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis because that's really all that's important. And there are two main sticking points that I really want to touch on that happened within that phone call that I think were really a sign of like how far things were gonna go, and honestly how much further things might go from here still. The first sticking point was Jenk seemed convinced of this idea that I'm living in some sort of bubble. They've even said it on the air, that people fighting for trans rights are all living in some sort of bubble. The problem with that is I have a lot of random trans people from a ton of different political perspectives that will like reach out to me about like, hey, how are things going at TYT? Or hey, you're really inspiring. You know, stuff like that. And I also have like a decent circle of friends and family.
Because people aren't monoliths. That's another thing we kind of failed to realize, is that nobody here is a monolith. Everybody has different opinions. But our axioms all need to be the same. I hope I'm using that word right. Anyway.
Many of which who are sort of all over the place politically. I told Jenk very specifically, you know, I have friends that are like big Joe Biden fans, right? Like they are theoretically to your political right. His reaction to that was quite literally laughter, which I just thought was like so hilarious.
What?
And he just kind of wouldn't believe. He was like, no, you're in a bubble. You're in a bubble. And I kept pressing. I was like, no, Jenk, you don't understand. I matched with a random person on Tinder, and the first thing that they started talking to me about is how transphobic TYT has been lately. Because I think that they had just kind of figured out who I was. And
oh, no! Uh-oh! If that was not an indicator, tap the brakes. We're screwed. Uh-oh.
And Jenk was like, no, see, you're living in a bubble. And it's like, yeah, okay, buddy.
This is what I was talking about before, is that if they don't see it, it's not real to them. The call is coming from inside the bubble, Jenk. Man, oh man. Hold on, make sure I didn't mute my mic. Okay, good. I'm not muted. Fantastic.
A completely random person I matched with on Tinder is just part of the bubble that I'm magically living in. But really that kind of gave me the vibe of like, oh, Jenk really thinks that like every trans person...
It also says to me, if you're not an expert on the subject, if you're not like a dyed-in-the-wool studied expert of it, then he's not going to want to talk to you. Which, you know, some man of the people. This is what happens. Guys, I'm a New Yorker. I'm telling you right now. This is what happens when people from Jersey try to step up, think they have opinions, and then they forgot that they're in the fucking armpit. Yeah? You're in the armpit, Jenk. As a matter of fact, you're even further south. Because yes, like assholes, everybody's got an opinion. It's just that yours stinks. Like New Jersey. Stupid ass.
Is part of some sort of ideology, that we're of like a strict like political viewpoint, and that we don't just exist as like a type of person that exists, you know? It really did seem like Jenk was of the mind that to be transgender is to subscribe to a very specific political viewpoint. Which, I don't know if you know this, but that's actually
the
something
lifestyle
that the,
gag.
like, most unhinged transphobes are, like, spewing as conspiracy theories and stuff like that. They're like, these trans rights activists are all part of this strict ideological group, and they're infecting people with this radical gender ideology.
What's the radical gender ideology? What is it? Just leave me alone and let me live my life? That's the ideology I want to subscribe to. Is that they're people, like you and me. It's just like, man, if Benny's telling us the truth, and I have no reason, and there's no evidence to the contrary that, you know, she's telling tales out of school, the rot goes deep. I don't think it's a grift. I don't think they're equipped to handle or to accurately touch on these issues. It's just overwhelming stupidity. Anyway, let's continue here.
Is literally what like these unhinged right wingers are saying, but it does kind of seem like Cenk is just kind of in that camp of like, oh, if you're trans, you must by definition be like some sort of radical leftist.
No.
You know, clearly like not connecting the dots about people like Caitlyn Jenner or Blair White existing, which honestly was just really, really frustrating
because they
to have in
don't
that
care, they don't
conversation.
pay attention.
Because the people that are in my circle of friends are people who like literally have been homeless in their lives and people who literally are making like ridiculous amounts of money. I have a pretty broad circle, you know, something that kind of
That's part of
happens
being on the
sometimes
left, is
when you're like a
having that big
polyamorous
circle.
trans woman that's like a little bit popular on the internet. It turns out that you can build a pretty wide circle of people from like different perspectives and backgrounds and stuff. I know, what a shocker. But then there's the other part that was like even more disturbing, which was I pointed out something that Anna had said on the air, where I was like, hey, Anna said this bit about doctors giving hormone therapy to children because they were afraid of being called transphobic.
Oh,
And I was
fuck
very
off
clear.
with that!
I was like, you know that's not happening, right? Like, you know that that isn't happening. And Cenk's response was, you know, I don't know. See, I could see it happening, though. And I'm like, no, but you couldn't.
You could see it happening? Yeah, does that mean it did? I could see Yellowstone erupting tomorrow. I better find a piece of wood to knock on, because if that happens, then we got far bigger issues on our plate. That's not true. I'd say just about the same. Yes, they are the same, and I will not elaborate. Yeah, Benny is, I think, accurately touching on the lack of urgency there is here, which, you know. Oh, folks, not good.
Because you know if that actually did happen, that would be medical malpractice, and it would be like a federal case to just give kids hormone replacement therapy because you didn't want to seem transphobic.
No parent would ever do that. No parent is that, like... I mean, there's Munchausen by proxy, but I truly don't think people are doing that. And, guys, what the hell is happening over there? What the hell is going on?
That's ridiculous. On its face is ridiculous. Anybody who knows anything about politics would know that not only would that be a federal case, but it would be like national headlines. Every single newspaper would turn that into the biggest story for months. I mean, literally, the biggest story transphobes have had for the past 2 months is Dylan Mulvaney being on a can of Budweiser.
Which, let me fucking tell you something. Again, not surprising, but still incredibly disappointing. You know how Bud Light... Here, I actually have the sound clip of Bud Light, is showing, expressing their support for for Dylan Mulvaney. Here it is. It's right here. Yeah, you heard that? Nothing. Because Bud Light had left her high and dry. They said, thanks for pushing our beer. And it doesn't matter what the backlash is, we still make money. Which is the best part about them shooting up the Bud Light cans. And Modelo being the top-selling beer, which is still piss water. But in a stubby bottle. And that's still Anheuser-Busch. They still made money. That's the thing. They made their money already. And they're gone. That's like thieves in the night. They stole her privacy. They stole her safety. And didn't reach out for any support. Just took the money and ran. That's why you guys can't be... You can still be disappointed, and I'll never tell you how to feel. Like, you could be incredibly disappointed at a company doing bullshit things, but if we're on the left, we know that this is what they do. So now I think we can safely, say, like, we don't need corporate support. Because they'll show it for a month, and then where did all the pride flags go? Not everything is follow the money, but it leaves an odd paper trail if you catch my drift.
But do you think that they really wouldn't make it national headlines even if it just
Exactly.
happened once? No,
she's
Jenk
exactly
still doubled
right.
down. It's like, I don't know, I could see that happening, and it's like, great, we have somebody who is like the head of a news network who is like basing political opinions off of things that he could see
on vibes. You telling me that this was all just shit based on vibes? Like, that sucks.
Happening. Like, what a wonderful position to be in at this point. Like, the real brilliant 5-head political take right there. I could imagine this scenario, and that really says something about society, doesn't it? And
And you know what? Benny, I get you, girl, because some days it's like if we're not laughing, we're weeping. It's just the same shit.
Had to be one of the most unhinged parts of that phone call. But whatever. I sent him some research papers.
I forgot! On the phone, too. Like, it didn't even have to be on the air. Like, you could just talk to her. And you wouldn't even bother. Yeah, get a load of hashtag too strong. Fuck.
About trans people in sports that went into detail pretty clearly about, like, hey, there's no evidence that there's any reason to discriminate against trans people in sports.
Fig Fairy, if you're still in chat, is she talking about the video that you're talking about? The Jangles video? Because we'll,
And that was, like, the conclusion that it came to, pretty firmly, right? Hey, there's no evidence that we should discriminate against trans people.
Yep.
What a wild concept.
None.
It's amazing. I know. But
she's
apparently has
that's
learned
the thing. She's
the
absolutely
long lesson
right.
from that, especially when you look at some of the clips from his most recent rant about trans people that he just did the other day regarding trans people in sports and the extreme radical activists that support trans people in sports. Now, let's listen really quick to some of the clips from this rant.
That's the thing, too. Doesn't TYT have their own sports channel? Like, they have their own sports section, and they didn't even fucking touch on this shit? Like, again, I'm not going crazy here. This shit's a slam dunk. Am I crazy? I mean, yes. I feel like if we're in the arts, then we have to be. And I'll tell you, like, normally if we're just watching fucking videos like this, I would be, because let me tell you something, Famiglia, the next comic is going to be a good one. never short of, rather a glut of idiocy to draw about in 10 panels or less. Oh, I can't keep up. Everybody's so stupid, guys. I can't keep up. I'm trying to get a comic out once a week. There's so much happening.
See where exactly Jenk is on these issues.
Can't go back. Okay. I think we'll just assume that yes, this is the video that Benny is talking about. But I don't think it's going to tell us stuff that we don't already know. That there is absolutely no difference between cis and trans women after like 18 months of replacement therapy, which I think that was like the crux of it. So, I mean, we have proof positive. Just ask Patricio, undefeated boxer. So,
no, the hormone blockers do lower the testosterone. They do even things out a lot, right? But the men still have other physical advantages, like we maintain mass much better. And to give you a sense of how unfair this is, that where she won in Canada with 200.
Let me ask you something, right? you guys remember? Oh, sorry, I just dropped my pen. Not my drawing pen. Haha. Anyway, you guys remember China, the wrestler? China won the Intercontinental Championship after beating the shit out of Jeff Jarrett. Won the IC title and ran shop in the mid card. She was super popular. You know why? She was a lady that kicked ass. God, could you imagine if China were still alive today? Some fucking nut would have tried to transvestigate on China, which is a fool's errand because she did a lot of steroids, and that could confuse idiots. You know, they don't know any better. It's like, again, like nobody watches a sport. Wrestling was huge in the 90s. Nobody knew who fucking Awesome Kong was. Just like, also, as far as we're talking about like bone sizes, right? Bone sizes, mass, and all that shit. Rey Mysterio was heavyweight champ, and I don't want to hear any like if you say wrestling is fake, immediate ban. I'm just throwing it out. I'm throwing it out there. Do not think I'm kidding. I will not hear this. I will not hear it. But yeah, Rey Mysterio took guys on that were like guys multiple feet taller than him, and yet he could still go. What's it? Muggsy Bogues was like 5'2", or not 5'2". Jesus Christ! It was really short compared to other compared to, Dikembe Mutombo, Karl Malone, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, even guys like fucking Ben Wallace. I think that's like, I think Ben Wallace was a little after Muggsy, but he ducked and weaved around bigger guys. It's a skill issue. Exactly. Size is not skill. It's how you play the game. It's how it's the muscle memory in throwing a ball, or it's the remembering what kind of strategy you take in defensive positions. There's so much more than size and weight, and it's like looking at baseball games through wins and losses. It's the most shallow way to look at sports. Who wins and who loses. It's like, are you watching the game or not? And or like, are you watching the actual athletes? And the answer is just a clear as day. No, we don't. So,
Yeah.
175-pound bench press. I bench press 275.
Bullshit.
Okay?
This is so ridiculous. This is literally so ridiculous. Okay, think about this. He's like, oh, this trans woman won a competition where she broke a record bench pressing 275 pounds. And clearly, that's unfair. Because I, a cisgender man, can easily bench press 275 pounds. There in your body.
I think I might have been muted. Was I muted? Oh my god, I was. Oh my god, I am so sorry, chat. I was muted. I have a little mute thing on my microphone here. I was coughing a little bit, and I wanted to turn the mute off on my mic thingy here. All right, so I'll say, oh golly, all right. So let me say all that shit again. I don't see Jank going to the gym pressing 245. I don't see that happening. The man couldn't lift a finger to protect trans rights on his own show. He ain't lifting 240 at the gym. No fucking way. No way. It's so stupid. This is, what Benny is basically saying is that Cenk is making his personal problems into his politics, which is such a rightoid thing to do. because it just comes from a politics of selfishness, and that doesn't do anything for anybody. It's, I don't care about your rights, and I don't care about the actual facts. I don't want to be wrong on the internet and on my own show. It's just such an abysmally low outlook on this entire. It's the cynicism in which they rail against. This is cynicism taken into, almost internalized it. It's really upsetting. By the way, thank you, Fig Fairy. Thank you for pointing out that I was muted. I cursed myself just when I said the leftist audio problems were fixed. Alas, I was muted the whole time. But Doctor, I'm Pagliacci.
What to do? Like, could he have used a sillier example?
Yeah, I didn't either, and I'm streaming. Oh, well, that's just, I don't pay attention to the audio levels on my stream. One of my finer qualities. All right, let's keep going.
He's trying to say that trans women have an advantage in sports because he personally, as a cisgender man that has never taken estrogen, would be able to beat them all at a bench press competition. This is just on its face ridiculous. But just wait.
This is unga bunga, me strong. This is caveman speak. The stupidity is melting my brain. Benny, God bless you, girl. I don't know how you did it for so long.
Because it's gonna get worse.
I mean, it's okay.
Oh my God, it
gets
worse.
You're gonna put that in the women's division. I don't care how many hormone blockers you had. It's gonna make a difference, okay? And in the limited cases, they're not like instantly breaking every record like Trump is saying, right? But they're doing better than the average bear.
That's not.
They had. What's the over-under on them having nicer things to say about Trump than they do about trans athletes in this clip? Smart Money says bet the farm. But we'll see if they actually say that in this clip or not. It's not looking good, I'll say that. The prognosis is not good.
Not true. Like, literally show me any statistic that shows that trans women are performing better than average in sports. In fact, that's part of the research that I showed Jank that it actually isn't happening. It literally is not happening. There is yet to be a trans woman win at the Olympics, despite the fact that trans women have been allowed at the Olympics for a long time now. Once again, it is almost like Jank is refusing to take in the information that people are presenting to him, and is just making up things in his head and taking that as reality.
And here, I'll add one thing that's really important. And we shot a show, I don't know if you guys are ever gonna see it, we shot a pilot just this weekend.
Oh, don't worry, we're not.
A Republican and Democratic family, okay? I asked them about trans rights. Should they have the same rights, same exact rights in housing, employment, etc.? Every one of them, including hardcore Trump people, were like, yes, they should have the same exact rights.
Exactly.
When I asked about this topic, every one of them, except one, 6 out of 7, were like, no, not competing in sports. Doesn't make sense. Men and women are different, okay? And so whether that's, we can get into the, continue that scientific debate, but
that's where the advocacy ends for them. It's, hey, trans people are just the same as cis people, especially when competing in sports. Well, I don't know about that. Okie doke. Okay. Class reductionism is when you have to add money into the equation, or like, because I promise you, the people that he's talking about are all the fiscal conservatives. Which, again, that's not going to change people's minds. You have to appeal to their inner humanity, which is, they're doing their thing. They're living their lives. They're good people.
far as the American people go and politics go, you're gonna lose them. Whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. You're gonna lose them.
Oh, yeah.
No, you lost them. Cenk, Anna, you lost them. You have effectively failed to convince that person of the truth, which is that there's no difference between the musculature of trans men and cis women. You had them right where you wanted them, and you fumbled the bag. You fumbled it. Talk about shooting yourselves in the foot. They didn't shoot the fucking foot off. They amputated the thing. Jake, the man stubs his toe and says, gotta throw the whole limb away. How do you not get mad? How else does this look? Except, super transphobic. And if he is a true advocate for progressive values, which is starting to look like he's only doing so when it's convenient to him, which is, the answer to that then would be no, then, yeah, because what happens if they are for human rights? What are they? Cenk and Anna are voices behind a series of ones and zeros. They have effectively now been turned into the noise. Not the Pizza Tower character, but they are now in the white noise of discourse, just drowned out with bullshit. Because this isn't a game anymore. This isn't just this isn't a niche issue. It's happening. It's happening in real time. They're just taking the path of least resistance. And that's not, that doesn't say too strong to me. That says I'm done. Which without any exaggeration, that shit breaks my heart. It really does. It breaks my heart.
Yeah, that's right. We should adjust all of our political opinions based off of what's popular and what's unpopular, right? Because here's the thing, Cenk. You personally, as somebody that works in the news, have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to actually inform people
Correct.
with the facts and not worry about how are they going to worry about what I'm saying?
Correct.
No, you just have to give people the facts. And that as somebody who is working in media, you do actually have an influence over people's opinions. But it's playing this game of, I want to sound and seem really smart, regardless as to whether that not something is actually true. And so I'm going to say something that's not true.
This is probably why Cenk. I'm sorry for interrupting her mid-sentence, but this I think is why Cenk lost his race in California when he ran. There's nothing that says to me that he didn't try and do trying to do the both sides of crazy. We just have to focus on, the money. Focus on the money issues, and that'll get people to me. Because if the advocacy is this strong, or is apparent that it's lacking strength, then I seriously do not know. I don't know. Maybe Anna doesn't know. Maybe they never knew.
Just because it's a big smart brain thing to say. I think discriminating against trans people is okay as a smart galaxy brain strategic.
I also want to make this very fucking clear too, because we're all new here and we're all friends. There is no money in leftism, okay? There's no big brand that's going to scoop you up when you're advocating for the marginalized people. You understand that? If I only have, two people that give me $5 a month to do this fucking stream, you know what? I'll live in a goddamn van. I'll stream from a fucking van. If that means I can advocate for, people's rights and people will listen to me. Will I be able to afford a fancy apartment in New York City? Not that my apartment's fancy, period, but no. But I don't want that. I'm not saying live in squalor. I'm just saying, I would imagine if you're doing this shit, the advocacy, it's not about the money. That's what, and I think he know. The most frustrating part to me is that he knows this. This is pridefulness and the deathly fear of being harassed on Twitter. Which, again, so much for too strong, huh?
Strategic move, because we gotta win over all of these people who just don't understand yet. Like, can we stop doing this? Can we stop playing this game of like, I really want to look smart, so I'm afraid of saying something that is literally true? Or like standing up for what is just morally correct? I mean, quite literally, if you don't have enough evidence, why do you think the default should be discrimination? Explain this. Why is the default discrimination? And heaven forbid we stand up for people and say, no, trans people should just be allowed to play in sports. That's
Correct.
good, actually. That's
Correct.
fine. There's no evidence to suggest that we should discriminate against trans people because of some sort of biological advantage, because of course, that's like a silly, nonsensical idea. And also, wild concept, women with PCOS have a ton of advantages in sports. Are we going to discriminate against them too? Right? Once again, this is a failure to understand that trans people are just a type of person, right? This is thinking that transness is something extra, which is another vibe that I got with Jank over the phone, was just this feeling that it seemed like he thought that transitioning and being trans was like this extra special thing that people did for fun or to make a political statement, and not just literally part of like who trans people are. Once again, this is just a failure to
Yeah, I paused it right as she was about to say it, but she's right. This is a shocking lack of attempting to learn. Just like when I don't understand how hard it is to just let people live their lives. I don't get it. Or just be who they are. Forget living their lives. I want to stop saying living their lives because I don't want it to be misconstrued as, being trans as a lifestyle choice, which is not. It's, trans is just being another person. It's another person. Treat people like people. It really should not be that hard. And this is again, cisgendered, straight as the crow flies. I don't think this should be that hard for anybody. If it's not hard for me, then what's your fucking problem? What is your hang up?
Understand transness as just a type of person that exists. And the idea of, oh, you're just losing the average person, I could win over Republicans on like the housing and all these other things, is just absurd on its face. Because
that's class reductionism. Is ignoring the the homophobia and the transphobia and just going straight to housing. When really, if you were smart, or not even if you're smart, if you gave a shit, you'd be able to find a way to mix them both into the messaging. But they didn't do that. They have failed in their advocacy. Which, if that was the biggest network that the left had, to try to reach the mainstream, gang, let me tell you, we got a lot of fucking work to do. We have a lot of work to do.
Really, Jank? Are people just gonna vote for a Republican because they're very angry that there's a trans person playing sports ball? Come on, like, be real. Be real, especially because, and this is another thing that I pointed out to Jank, if you look at the states where Republicans made their entire campaign just attacking trans people in sports, you know what happened when Democrats actually stood in defense of trans people? Oh yeah, that's right. The Republicans lost miserably. Nobody is thinking about this. People are not just struggling to fall asleep at night. Oh my God, oh, I can't even believe trans people are playing sports. What am I gonna do?
I'm should make mention, too, that when we talk about women in sports and trans women in sports, we're not talking about adults most of the time. We're talking about children. Children playing high school sports. And what did we say on Demon Mama's stream? Because when I showed up for Signal Night, I spat nothing but truth. While I was semi-delirious at 2 in the morning. Which was, nobody thinks about children's genitals more than these ultra-conservative nuts. So you don't need to bring that shit up. It's not you just have to win people over by convincing them that trans people are just normal people. Super easy. And you don't have to point to children's genitals in order to get that point across. I'm really just... The discourse behind all of this shit is on the transphobia side is like so cartoonishly idiotic. It's crazy. Show me you don't know anything about human anatomy without telling me you don't know anything about human anatomy. This is why we need sex ed. If sex ed, I can actually make a pretty safe guess that if sex education was better in the United States, we wouldn't be having this problem. Because sex ed is just to, it's an anatomy class. But people are just so afraid of other people's bodies. It's fucking crazy. It's like Captain Insano shit to me. And something I'll never truly understand. But one thing I do understand is that I'm going to advocate for trans people's rights until the fucking day I die. Because that's what you do. Even when it's not convenient to you, jank. Asshole.
Nobody's doing that. There's a tiny group of people who are obsessed with trans people that are going on a tirade, but that's not the majority. If you look
Correct.
at Michigan, in Michigan, the Republicans made their entire campaign just we hate trans people.
Correct.
And what happened now?
Blown out.
The Democrats have a trifecta in Michigan now. And every state where Republicans have tried to focus...
Blown the fuck out. That's what happened. Benny is absolutely right. They got blown the fuck out of the water. Again, super fucking easy. Super easy.
This on just attacking trans people, it has literally undermined their own support. So what is happening right here seems to be very clearly Jank hiding behind hypothetical people's opinions in order to mask his own opinion. He doesn't think that trans people should be allowed to play professional sports. And instead of just saying that, which I guess on some level he does, he hides behind,
he did. That's the thing.
The American people.
Well, that's the thing. He did. That's what kind of drives me nuts is that, when you try to call somebody out on their words, 9 times out of 10 they'll tell you, I didn't literally say that. But, as George Carlin said one time, let's try and use the language that we all agreed upon. Words don't happen by accident. You don't just say this isn't just like saying abracadabra, I'm just saying words. What is the message that we get from saying something, in not so many words? It's called putting 2 and 2 together. Critical thinking. Context clues. So nobody knows anatomy and nobody knows how to fucking read. Greatest country in the world, everybody. Greatest country in the world. This is it.
Aren't ready for trans people to play sports, you know? But it gets even worse because he basically follows this up by blaming trans athletes and anybody who dares to just support trans people existing for all of the transphobic legislation that is passing across the country and for Republicans winning.
That is incredibly selfish of activists who are betraying their own community. Because when you say I don't care about elections, who cares about the Democrats? That isn't the point. The Republicans introduced over 600 bills against the LGBTQ community. That's because of elections. And over 70 of them have already passed. When you say I don't care about winning and I don't care about elections, what you're saying is I'm super selfish leftist activist and I'd like to build my cloud. But meanwhile, I'm willing to throw trans people and the entire LGBTQ community under the bus.
When I won't hear them out. When I actually had a person who would talk to me on the phone or talk on the show about trans people's issues on the ground. Instead, you're just going to yell at the activists that you're yelling at the activists that you pretend don't exist. What a fucking stand-up guy. What a guy.
Knowing that these bills are going to pass because we're laser focused on a losing issue.
And he's like, oh, if Republicans win.
No. You said it yourself, Cenk. The messaging sucks. For somebody who likes to talk a big game about advocacy and activism, you sure don't know how to do it very well. Like, when people say we don't care about elections, what they're saying is that the electoral process is so inherently fucked that meaningful change can happen if we start convincing the people around us outside of the political sphere. That's what he's saying. That's what, if I'm catching it right, that's what they're saying. They're not saying elections, period, don't matter, period, end of story. At least not the real ones, not the rational ones. They know elections matter. Because that's the most immediate result we can come to in the system that we're in. We know that. But this is such fucking gall, the gall of this guy. To have such, to have a big opinion and yet, here she is. Here she is, right here. Ready to talk to you. And you laughed in her face. He did the same thing when TYT was unionizing. He screamed at workers. And he tried his very best to stall the card check. Which, for those of you keeping score at home, a card check is a thing where people agree to sign they have cards that say we want to join the union and here's all the names. An employer has to acknowledge that. And yet Cenk kicked the can down the road mentioning, National Labor Relations Board issues and, IATSE negotiations. You don't understand. Again, a man that wants to talk about politics. Let me tell you something about how film works. There are contracts called tiers. You negotiate depending on how big of a job there is. There is no problem with being a tier 1 or a tier 0 show. That's just the environment that's out there. What people are trying to tell you is pony up. Pay your fucking workers. Again, that shouldn't be that fucking hard. Pay your fucking workers. The whole point of a union is to negotiate. Cenk does not want to sit down and negotiate. He doesn't give a shit. Doesn't give a shit. Here's the thing. You can say you're for this stuff and believe it, and that's fine. But words can only go so far. It's the actions you do. It's laughing in people's faces. It's screaming at them after a card check. It's the internalized cynicism. You tell him, Shay. Yuck. Yuck.
Win because the trans people want to play sports. It'll be all your.
No, Shane, because you suck at fucking making a point. You suck at conversing with people. You're very good at talking at them. You're not good talking to them. That's why you lost. Oh, I'm not yelling at you, Benny. Sorry. I didn't mean to pause it if I was yelling at Benny. I wasn't. She's making very good points. What is with these Gen X leftists that as soon as something doesn't go their way, I would argue that it's worse than the fucking boomers. This is saying Gen X leftists, if something doesn't go exactly their way, they will sit back and watch the world burn. I did all I could do. Oh, you don't want to listen to me? All right, well, fuck you too. Yeah, great. Some advocacy. Ugh. Yuck. Icky. Ugh.
Your fault. And like, how disgusting is that actually? You were genuinely gonna blame people whose existence is like actively being criminalized by Republicans for their own oppression? Give me a break. This is actually your fault more than it is any trans person's fault.
Let me tell you something. She's right. I forgot to make this point when I paused the first time. Passion for something bad is terrible. Apathy is worse. You can hate something so fervently, but at least you care about it. And God bless you, you care about being a moron. At least I don't mind that, because I can match you. I can easily match people who are trying to get, too intense. I'm from New York. It's what we do. All right? I half kid, but you grow up with, it's a mentality you do grow up with. It's, like any regional area, You do no harm, take no shit. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit. And this is worse.
Cenk, personally it is more his fault. Because what Cenk is doing is Cenk is going to an audience of people who are presumably on the left and telling them, no, it's okay to be transphobic. It's okay to compromise with the rights of trans people. Yep. It's okay to say that we should...
Said it earlier. You leave the door open a crack, it's enough for someone to shove their foot in and bust the door open.
Just discriminate against trans people in some ways if it makes these Republicans happy. And like, that is unbelievably disgusting. It's such a shameless thing to do. Like, how on God's green earth
selfish
do you think that you get to call yourself some sort of like principled leftist who's out to do the right thing? How can you call yourself the home of progressives when you are actively cutting deals with fascists about the rights of trans people and then spreading transphobic nonsense to an audience of like millions of people?
Internalized cynicism. I'm driving this point home as hard as I can. This is a guy who has gotten punched in the jaw so many times and just doesn't want to get punched anymore. He doesn't want to take the hits anymore. He just wants to run a show. He just wants to run a TV show. Congratulations, Cenk. You guys became what you hated. Congratulations. I hope you're proud of yourself. I'm not.
It is deeply irresponsible, and fundamentally, it's pathetic. This is genuinely embarrassing. The degree to which this is irresponsible just knows no bounds, because there are so many people...
That's a better word for it, actually. Irresponsible. She's absolutely right. It's irresponsibly selfish of these guys.
That are literally looking to people like Cenk for opinions, and he's literally just giving them an open invitation to be as transphobic as they want to be because it's politically strategic.
They'll say that, but okay, you don't care about the politics? Let's just, for once in your life, think strategically about what that means.
All right, Anna. Let me give it to you straight. All right? If we're talking about trans issues. Talking about queer issues, let me give it to you straight. Again, You failed to do your job. And instead of being an actual ally and open up and say, okay, we might have missed the mark here, or the messaging that we're pushing for is not politically expedient. That's not responsibility. That's not being an adult. That's giving up. Anna, please, for once in my life, talk about strategy. Let me tell you something. Politics isn't all electoral. You understand? Politics is how are you going to treat somebody walking down the street when they're looking at you or when they're following you. That's politics. Everybody's too worried about the trans panic and nobody realizes that the fucking bus fares are going up and the roads are fucking collapsing. That's politics. You want to talk about strategy? You're ignoring trans people is not a strategy. It's almost despicable. Not almost, it is. It is despicable, the tone that she's taken with everybody who actually, and I'm not saying I'm Mr. Super Advocate either, but I know people that are working far harder than me to make meaningful changes in this world, and I don't understand why they would take the time. Also, I want to throw this out there too. Bonus episode. This is a bonus episode. You're paying TYT to spit in your face and tell you it's raining. It's just so fucking disgusting and stupid and avoidable. Like, this is totally avoidable. We could have had a real come together and come to Jesus moment in uniting behind trans people and trans issues when you have them on your staff ready to talk to you. And you laughed in their face. How about once in your life you take fucking progressive issues seriously? For once in your life, Cenk and Anna, maybe don't trip over dollars to save cents. Maybe don't think that political expediency is strategy. These are the same people who would have told fucking Rosa Parks, hey, maybe you should have sat in the back. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have stirred the boat. It's not, people don't like that when people say, I want to sit on a bus seat because it's a bus seat and I don't see your fucking name on it. Martin, hey, Marty, can I call you Marty? Doc, look, I Have a Dream shit, it's great. It's cool, it's hip with the kids, but it makes President Johnson very upset. And he doesn't want to be upset. That's politics. When someone calls you, the R slur, I'm not going to get into this debate. I don't like to use it, just because I don't like to use it. So, that's why I love old colloquialisms and old turns of phrase. So we'll say it like this. When somebody on the internet calls you dumber than a second coat of paint because of a very dumb and selfish and self-destructive take, and then you not only doubled down, but grabbed the Overton window, ripped it out of the fucking wall, and moved it to the right. That's politics. That's strategy. And you fucked it. The both of you. You totally fucked it. You have now made it harder for leftist unity. They're doing the meme. They're crazy on both sides. It's the meme. 10 more minutes of this, and then we get to play the randomizer. So let's just hold on. Let's be pissed off for 9 minutes and 15 seconds and 25 seconds, and then we'll play Zelda.
That means that you're going to continue pushing the Democratic Party to unequivocally support everything that the trans activists want, even if it's unpopular among the electorate. That means
who gives a shit if it's not popular? Who gives a shit? advocacy you advocate as to why it should be popular. Jesus fucking Christ, I'm doing their work for them. It's right there. It's right there. I'm sorry, gang. That's what pisses me off the most is the apathy. Like, stupid-ass takes from Ben Shapiro and stuff. Like, I can take that. You know? Because the man is, he's fiscally incentivized to say stupid bullshit on the internet. It's his job. We could be disappointed, but not surprised. What makes this difficult is that this is both surprising and disappointing.
Means they're not getting reelected. That means they're going to lose to Republicans. Republican lawmakers who...
That didn't happen in Michigan, you fucking idiot. Oh my god, we gotta play Zelda. We gotta finish this clip, guys. I'm gonna play Zelda fucking soon. This is driving me fucking bonkers here.
Are passing draconian, disgusting legislation in various states right now as we speak against the transgender community.
Look at this. You're gonna push your Democratic Party to unequivocally support everything the trans activists want. Like,
I want to take you back to 2016. This is the same shit they were making fun of with the Hillary voters. Oh, Hillary's the most electable. We gotta get her up there. And then, they fought. They were the loudest for Bernie because they talked specifically against respectability politics. Once she did, I'll tell you, when Anna did that interview with Ben Shapiro, there were many times in that interview where you could have just stopped his bullshit right there and gave you facts. But instead, I'll tell you, who came out of that talk, I guess if there's anything, the winner? Ben Shapiro. Because they're not going to the Young Turks. You understand that? Anna, in her infinite wisdom, decided that if I appeal to the person who's, again, fiscally inclined to make these talking points and think he's acting in good faith, well, I'm just a fucking idiot. That's the thing she should have said to herself. Yeah, Anna has confused, people who are on the ground with people who are, whose job it is to say bullshit. Just funny because this is like fucking, Dave Rubin came from there. Jesus, let's actually fucking take a look at the track record. Jimmy Dore, Jordan Sheridan, and Emma Vigeland. Roast and toast Vigeland for the win. Absolutely. But anyway, yeah, they're not gonna go over to the Young Turks. They're gonna say the Young Turks actually agrees and they can actually coexist with the Daily Wire. Why would I want to go to another website? They already confirmed my beliefs here. So I'm just going to stick to the Daily Wire. Brain dead strategy. Just dumb. Because Ben Shapiro is not talking to people on the ground. He's not talking to conservative activists. He's not talking to anybody. He's reading from a script given to him by his benefactors that has talking point among talking point upon talking point. I keep saying it, gang. The call's coming from inside the bubble.
shut up. Literally, shut the fuck up.
For real.
This is so embarrassing. Like, Anna Kasparian, look, I'm gonna be real. This is my personal opinion, but whatever. I think Anna Kasparian is genuinely personally transphobic. I'm just gonna say it right now. She's like,
well, you don't need to think we saw it.
She's referring to every trans person as a trans rights activist. Referencing every trans person as a trans rights activist is just, on its face, literally transphobic.
Correct.
And it's one of the things that transphobes have been pushing for a long time, is just calling every trans person a trans rights activist. I mean, and the media more broadly does this as well. And this whole idea of like, you're gonna lose to Republicans. You're gonna lose to Republicans if you cater to these trans people.
Again, they sang a very different tune in 2016 when Bernie was running. They sang a very different tune.
once again, is entirely debunked. Most people are fine with trans people, and when Republicans make their entire platform about attacking trans people, it actually does undermine their political success. We just live in a country that is very much not a democracy, that has all this gerrymandering and all these other things, and so Republicans still have like seats in a lot of places. I know, wild concept. But genuinely, if you look at their poll numbers in response to them focusing on just trans people existing, it's not working. It is genuinely not working for them. It is undermining the electoral success. But of course, you can't not take the opportunity to blame trans people for their own oppression. Am I right? It's really great that Anna Kasparian is doing this.
And by the way, you schmucks, you're falling exactly into the right-wing trap. The Republicans, they tried
the right-wing trap of saying
the
right-wing trap of saying they should just exist. You fucking stupid ass! Oh my God, you cannot get me and Cenk in the same room because you will not be able to pick us up. We would just be shouting at each other. Now he's the guy I don't mind talking at because he's a fucking schmuck. Calling me a schmuck? Really? You fucking jerk off? When you had the chance, again, you had the chance. You can call me a schmuck all you want, Cenk, but you gotta understand. You know who looks like a bigger schmuck? The guy who had the chance to who had extended the olive branch, to get somebody on the show and actually do some real advocacy, and you laughed in their face. Yeah, some fucking tough guy. What a tough guy.
They tried trans bathrooms. You remember that? That didn't work. Kicking the trans
for Republicans, you fucking idiot.
Gender community out of the military. That didn't work.
For Republicans!
They drilled in until they finally found a little tiny nugget of like, hey, trans folks in like competitive sports seems a little bit much. And you don't.
But it's not! There's the science out there that confirms it's not! You have the big fucking platform and the money and opportunity to do it. You had the power to do that. You had the platform to do it. Too strong? Bullshit. Bullshit, too strong. Just off lazy and apathetic. And he's gonna make it my fucking problem. And again, bonus episode. I want you to know, anybody who's still in the audience that subscribes to this, bonus episode. If you're a trans activist or trans person in general, you're paying $10 to have Cenk spit in your face. I want you to know that. And even if you're not a trans person, but like if you're, if you do any kind of advocacy, he openly said, fuck you. Fuck you, you don't know nothing about nothing. When the man himself is sitting in a little square here, again, behind a series of ones and zeros. Fuck off. Fuck all the way off to outer space. Fuck this guy.
Don't engage them in that fight. They lose on everything else. But idiot activists, yes, I just called you an idiot. Activists go in there and go, no.
Yeah, and I call you a fucking idiot. You had a person, again, ready at the ready. And you're, oh. Drinking the energy drink for this one. Really? I'm an idiot, Cenk? Okay, let me tell you something. Let me see. Yeah.
But idiot activists, yes, I just called you an idiot.
No, let me tell you something, you fucking idiot. If I'm an idiot, you're a coward. You understand? If I'm an idiot, you're a coward. You had a chance to have a real person on your show to advocate for their rights, and you didn't do that. You chose to be the fucking big cheese and laugh it off. Former Republican, bleeding through.
Activists go in there and go, no, I'm gonna fall right into that trap, and I'm gonna fight on the only losing ground we have so we can elect more Republicans so they can pass more anti-LGBT laws. Great, well played. I'm sure your clout and your brand is doing great.
These clips are just so infuriating, genuinely. Like, that talk about betrayal is just so, like, pathetic and embarrassing and shameless, coming from Cenk and Anna right here. Like, oh, you're betraying the trans community by fighting for trans rights. How dare you just say that trans people should be treated?
Cenk, is your family being fucking threatened? Why are you saying this stupid shit? Is someone holding a gun to your wife's head and telling you to say this stupid shit? I hope so. Because it's not looking good, brother. It's like 20 years of advocacy and great work have now just been completely it's now put into question. This is not just a disagreement on the internet. You understand? This is now a outlet becoming exactly what they hated, and yet completely forgetting about it, living long enough to see themselves become the villain. Like, look, this is what they think about you. The people actually doing the work. That's what they think about you. That you're stupid and you don't know any better.
Treated equally in society. Don't you know that you're supposed to live as second-class citizens?
Like I said, Rosa, get up from the fucking seat. That's what Cenk would have said. Guys, get up off the lunch counter. You're holding up the line. Guys, don't protest the buses. I need to get to work. How pathetic. How embarrassing. This may be the most embarrassing thing I've seen from TYT, and we've had a glut of embarrassing things happen. Taxing gas him train. Yeah. You want to talk about the toxic gossip train? Jesus Christ! All the fuck aboard. Jake's in the dining car. Oh no, he's at the gym. Oh, he's lifting 250. Shut up.
So that I can feel better about myself when I give you rights? Literally spare me. This is ridiculous. But I think the real icing on the cake here is this tweet where Anna Kasparian has decided to unilaterally declare Jesse Singal to not be a transphobe, despite, and this is what's really wild, Jesse Singal literally talking to whistleblowers at a medical facility that appear to have made some significant HIPAA violations about...
Alright, anybody that says interview on his Substack. As soon as I see Substack, we got a problem. we got an issue.
their patients in sharing the information that they did with Jesse Singal. And of course, you have him running around spewing all of the same transphobic nonsense that basically your average transphobe is gonna be spreading. You know, the types of things about like, oh, we don't know about hormones and oh, HRT.
No, you don't know about hormones.
God,
You're a fucking moron.
Oh my goodness, they're turning all of our kids transgender. Oh my God.
Single is a
No. That's not the panic. That's just said in different words. Oh, they're going to turn our kids trans. No. That's not what it says. It says, oh, they're saying, oh my God, I watched too much porn and I watched a trans woman and now I have an erection. What do I do? Oh, and this shit. We just saw this.
good faith, I think, critical thinker. I'm subscribed to Blocked and Reported. I have listened to endless podcast episodes from Blocked and Reported. I haven't seen anything from Jesse Singal that communicates to me that he is a transphobe.
Because you're not looking. Because you're not looking hard enough. You're not looking hard enough.
Person. He did straight news reporting on basically what, some of the risks could be when it comes to transitioning literal kids with puberty blockers and then cross-sex.
But nobody's talking about giving sex change operations to kids. Nobody is saying that. Yes, I am taking this tone. Yeah, let me tell you another thing, and we're all going to be friends here and then think about this, right? You can go to Vosh and he can have a calm opinion. You can go to Hassan and he'll have a pretty easy, nowadays at least, he'll have an easygoing take. Me, you're getting the full New Yorker. Sorry, it's just who I am. I can't control it. If something is really fucking pissing me off, you're gonna fucking know it. And I hope you hear me from Los Angeles. even if you're not listening on a computer. As my mother would say, "Oh, yeah, I hope you felt that one. From the thrashing that I gave you, the energy I'm sending to you." That's funny. This is not funny. This is abysmal.
Hormones. And through his reporting, which I'm very sad to say I didn't really come across until this year, I learned that I was wrong about a bunch of other things.
Like a house of cards. Like a house of cards in a windstorm. Whoosh. All gone. Blown away. That was shocking. I think that actually surprised me the most. A news channel not doing any due diligence. Hold on. Let me pull my mic closer. That was a knee slapper.
Jesse Singal literally is one of the like more notable transphobic people that is out there putting out misinformation about trans people and actively stoking the flames of this big wave of anti-trans legislation.
Do I have to say it, guys? Do I have to say again as to why Anna didn't do her due diligence? Do I have to say why Cenk is much happier with calling people idiots than sitting down and talking to them? They don't care. They truly don't care.
And it's just deeply shameless to come in and say, no, I definitely think, as a cisgender woman, think that Jesse Singal is not transphobic at all. So yeah, it's good, it's fine, trust me. And then of course she starts talking about like, oh, puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones for children. I think the important thing to understand here, and this is a line that I've like continuously told people and like said on TYT myself, that like really what it boils down to is hormone replacement therapy is literally just puberty. Like at the end of the day, it's just puberty. And yeah, whether it's puberty with...
Also, if you actually, I'm not going to say a specific, I should probably look this up. I'm a big tough guy. I know it's going to take a minute of our time. I apologize. Trans puberty blockers early. I'm going to make sure I get a direct quote. Oh, sorry, I got to put this on the big screen here. This is what I mean by lazy selfishness. You can Google this shit. You can literally Google it. What's the first result? Puberty blockers help trans teens feel happier. Oh, golly, how does that work? Can't imagine. Puberty blockers make majority of trans kids happier. Huh, who knew? Transgender teens become happy, healthy young adults, and guess where this is from, baby? CBS has been on it. You know why? Because you're putting people in the bodies that they belong in. 2014. Oh, this is a fucking boss remix, by the way. Botanic Sage, I'm throwing it out there. Rules of Tekken, which is it's a mashup of Heat Haze Shadow from Tekken, Rules of Nature from Metal Gear Rising, and then a couple of others. But this is a really good one. Rules of Tekken. I friggin' loved this track. It was awesome. Ugh, I would much rather fucking
with estrogen or testosterone, it's going to carry some risks just like it does with cisgender children. That's just part of puberty. And it's actually not all that different if it's a trans puberty or a cis puberty, believe it or not. And so anybody fear-mongering about the effects...
And trans kids are happier when this, when they get puberty blockers early in life so they can, be in the body that they were born to be in. But again, they don't care about that. Not interested.
Are permanent. The effects are permanent. Yeah, that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, they're
Isn't
living.
that like the whole point?
Yes.
But if the effects were really entirely permanent, then transitioning as an adult wouldn't really work, would it? And yet, of course.
And again, look, anybody out there who is facing, this is gonna be tough. I understand for me to say because I have not been in a situation like that where I've had to decide on whether I have to, basically walk around with keys in my fist because I'm, in the body that I was supposed to be in, or losing family members because of zealotry. I can't tell you guys what to do because, I haven't had that experience. And the only thing I could tell you what to do is to say, like, go listen to, X, Y, and Z person because they have a better, plan of action than I do. But if I can offer one unwarranted piece of advice is just, some people in life, you got to give them the Uncle Joey treatment. And what's the Uncle Joey treatment, you ask? I'll show you in GIF form. Not saying it has to be today. Not saying it has to be tomorrow. I really wish I could just zoom in like this. There we go. This is the Uncle Joey treatment. I understand with the family that's very hard to do. And even our chosen family, like friends and close friends. I know that's really tough to do. To cut them off. But your worth the amount of unfettered happiness you deserve. You deserve to be happy. Oh, I just lost my phone. I was reading the YouTube chat on my phone and it died. But the sentiment's still there. Sorry about that. If you're able to, just cut him out. Your life is not worth the pain of trying to, convince somebody with all of your heart and soul that you just want, to be a person. Love belongs to everybody, and that includes yourself. And you didn't hear from me. Rules of nature. Oh, there we go.
It does. And it's funny because their biggest fear for what happens to children who are on hormone therapy is that a cisgender child might accidentally get gender dysphoria. The thing that trans children just deal with if they're not allowed to get hormones. And so literally, This is just a nonsense argument of throwing all trans people under a bus out of the hypothetical fear that a cisgender person might take hormones and just realize that it's not for them. Which at that point, by the way, they could just stop taking hormones.
That's
true.
And so
really, when you take all this together, it seems like Anna Kasparian is fully engulfed into like the conspiracy theories against trans people. And I genuinely think that she believes a lot more than what she's saying. Because I've just seen hints of like just some like extremely rabid transphobic nonsense. And with Jenk seems to be following Anna Kasparian along and kind of seems to be of the vibe of like, oh, no, I'm this big smart news guy and I've been doing this for a long time. I couldn't possibly be wrong, and very much relying on his lack of any type of understanding of biology and just making ridiculous assumptions about the difference between men and women and thinking that that's some sort of like universally applicable thing, not thinking about how hormones play a role in that, and of course is bouncing off of Anna's deeply transphobic energy. And of course, he can't help himself but frame himself as like the brilliant galaxy brain reasonable person.
Well, he
and of
has
course,
to.
all
It's
these
a
trans people
show,
are just ridiculous
apparently.
and out there and just radical. And couldn't possibly be, you know, referencing like very basic science that is easy to go through. And any attempts to educate either Anna Kasparian or Jenk has kind of just been met with a lot of stubbornness, of digging in their heels, rejecting the new information, and
because they're not interested. They're not interested in that. They just want to make a TV show. And that, I think, is the biggest crime here.
replacing it with their own imaginations about how they think things should be. And it just continues to escalate over the past several months. And that fundamentally is why I just can't be a part of TYT anymore. It's
Good,
just
nor
too
should
much.
you be.
It's ridiculous. Because at a certain point, it becomes embarrassing for me. Because how can I, as a trans person who actually knows the science behind this, who actually is like actively trying to support trans people, as somebody that people look up to me, right? People literally like send me messages and be like, I'm so inspired, you know, you being a TYT, like it made me want to come out, or like my kids watch your show and you know, it just like, it gives them so much hope and they're so excited to see a trans person in the news. And I have to deal with messages from them now asking about, hey, what's going on with TYT? Hey, what the hell is happening here? Like, why is Anna saying this? Why is Jenk saying this? And that is just like the amount of like psychic damage that I have to take every single day dealing with not only the transphobic nonsense of the Republicans, but also whatever Jenk and Anna are on right now. It's just too much. And I just, because at a certain point it becomes embarrassing because then people think that I'm like endorsing their views, and I cannot. I will not. I refuse to lend any support to those views whatsoever, because fundamentally they're dangerous and they're ridiculous and like they're straight up evil. It is just this shameless, selfish ignorance that is fueling this, and just this self-importance coming from both Jenk and Anna.
Correct.
This idea that they don't actually have to listen.
Correct.
So no, yeah, I'm done with TYT because I can't let anybody think that I have any type of support for their opinions here, because they're just ridiculous. And it's just gotten to be too much for me to deal with all of this nonsense. And the last thing I want is for them to be able to say, oh no, it's fine. We have like a transgender host, so it's all good actually. Because no, it's not all good actually. It is in fact quite bad.
Well, folks, you heard it here. It's bad. Yeah. Benny's done with TYT? Good. You should be too. Bullshit. Yeah, so unfortunately, this, you know, this is what happens when you're addicted to the smell of your own farts. You become someone as funny as that sounds, you know, smelling your own farts, but Benny's right. This is all from an incredibly self-centered perspective on trans issues. This is what people are talking about when they say you're centering yourself in the conversation. By putting your ignorance out into the world and telling us how to live our lives or how to advocate for, you know, people, when there's mounds of evidence on how to support people, on how to advocate effectively, on how to on electoral politics, if you're into that thing. There's so many. Benny's right. It's like we did it ourselves, gang. We went on Google. We went on Google twice, and it was the first two results. Farts. Not even once.